Despite the fact that you are right up there in all these polls, you have been turned down repeatedly for Secret Service protection. With your name and your family history, how and why are you being declined?
We're not really told details. We've made 3 separate requests. One of those requests came at a time when I had, when there were incidents, including a man who came to one of my speeches armed to the teeth and asked to see me in the green room. And that man is now at large on the street. My house has been invaded twice, and those people remain at large. There's over 33 presidential candidates who have been given Secret Service protection early. In other words, statutorily, they have to give it to me at 120 days. But my uncle received it 414 days from President Carter. They didn't like each other, but President Carter was a gentleman and was a responsible leader. And he made a decision that even though I don't like Ted Kennedy, even though he's running against me in my own party, it's not good for our country to weaponize the federal enforcement agencies and punish people who run against you by not giving them adequate protection. So it seems like the DNC is weaponizing, all of these federal agencies, from the FEC to the Secret Service to every other 3-letter agency that you can imagine, for political reasons, and that's not good for our country. We're supposed to be the exemplary democracy in the world. We're not supposed to be a banana republic.
Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is slamming what he says is a heinous double standard after a congressional advisory panel voted yes to awarding GOP candidate Nikki Haley with Secret Service protection, but not RFK Jr. Kennedy wrote on X of this move, "While I'm happy she'll be protected and publicly supported her request, double standards abound. My campaign first requested Secret Service protection in May of 2023 with a 63-page declaration. We still have a current request pending." Kennedy continued, "My request is the first time in 55 years a candidate has ever been denied. The Biden administration is the sole outlier to turn down a request for Secret Service coverage." The process for getting Secret Service protection involves a panel of actually congressional leaders getting together and deciding whether to recommend this protection, and then the ultimate decision is made by Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas, who has denied it to RFK Jr. thus far. RFK Jr. did have an angry person with a gun interrupt one of his events. He's paying for his private security, but frankly, what's offered by the Secret Service is much more robust. I'm not really understanding the argument for not granting him protection, frankly, and the administration hasn't offered one for what it's worth.
I'm not sure the level of threats the Nikki Haley campaign is getting, but having an angry person come into your event with a gun sounds like one of the larger threats we've heard about in mainstream media that's been reported on, that's come out of the RFK Jr. campaign. In terms of like other presidents like Obama, Herman Cain, Trump getting Secret Service early, it makes sense that there are some cases where the threats are so big that the standard 120 days out from a general election for presidential and vice presidential candidates just doesn't apply because, we'd rather keep those candidates safe. It's good for our democracy if our candidates can live on to election day. But in the case of Nikki Haley, I mean, her favorability rating is 33%. RFK Jr.'s is 52%. Do people hate her way more? We have no idea what threats she's getting and the level of those threats. How real are they? How close do they get to actually harming Nikki Haley? In the case of RFK Jr., it's possible he's receiving very serious threats or would be in more danger if he didn't have his own privately hired security. They could be acting as a deterrent. I think you're right that it just makes sense to grant the major candidates that are still in the race at this point access to Secret Service resources.
I can't understand why they wouldn't give that protection to RFK Jr. as well, given what he's experienced, given the Kennedy name. There could be crazy people out there who have an axe or a conspiratorial axe against the Kennedys for various reasons. There's obviously a history of political violence against members of his family, his father, his uncle, etc. It just doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
I can totally see people close to Biden, Mayorkas, people in the Department of Homeland Security totally hating the idea of an independent running a viable campaign in the United States. People in the establishment love the two-party system that we have, or the uniparty system, as some people would call it. But I think that it could very well be a political decision. Absolutely, let's drain some resources from the campaign. He can pay for it himself, and therefore he has less money to run advertisements against us and invest in having more staff and getting on the ballot in the states where he wants to be on the ballot in the general. Very well could be a political decision.
Yeah, it's hard not to reach that conclusion. If they want to disabuse us of it, tell us what's going on, or better yet, just give him the Secret Service protection. Seems like would be a no-brainer at this point.
Folks, I've never seen this before. I spent 12 years in the Secret Service. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., running for president, RFK, tweeted this out the other day. It's a long tweet. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but the gist of it is this. Nikki Haley was granted Secret Service protection, which is really strange because Bobby Kennedy, RFK, wasn't. And they still have a request pending. They were denied again. And the fact that RFK cannot get Secret Service protection, scroll down this tweet and people can read it if they want. And that Nikki Haley has Secret Service protection is ridiculous. He's actually polling ahead of Nikki Haley in some of these things. This is obscenely stupid. I don't mean ahead. I mean his chance of winning. Precision matters. He's not actually polling ahead. His chance of winning is better as a third-party candidate. Let me just explain to you a couple of things here and why this upsets me. Dan, why would you care about RFK versus Nikki Haley? Because, folks, here's what I think is going on. Again, I think this was a political decision. What you have to ask yourself, the Biden administration and their friends, whether at the top of the Secret Service, top of the FBI, or elsewhere, they are in this for Biden, not for you. And that's not the Secret Service I knew. I'm being dead serious with you. It didn't matter who was in charge. They did the right thing. I remember a couple times they had to tell Bush and Obama and their team to stick it because they were making dumb decisions that would have got them hurt. That's gone now. Why, Chatsters, you know the answer. Why is it in the DHS, Mayorkas, they run the Secret Service, and Biden's administration, obviously the boss, Mayorkas' boss, why is it in their interests to give Nikki Haley protection and not RFK? Come on, you know the answer. Because the Secret Service protection gives you the air of legitimacy. They want to boost Nikki Haley to make sure she stays in the race and gives Trump, drains Trump of money during the primary. And they want to destroy RFK's campaign by not giving it to him. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry, but it's the only thing that makes sense. You understand, I'm just going to tell you the truth, how much money and headaches are saved by having Secret Service protection. You want a quick example? Guys, this is boring. This is stupid. Tell me to just move on. Joe, is this stupid?
Oh, you got to hire your own service, don't you?
Yes. Thank you.
It's money, bro.
You have to hire your own security, number one, which costs a fortune. For professional level security, you're talking $25,000, $100,000 a month sometimes. And secondly, when you have Secret Service protection, you get to coast through airports and everything else. You have any idea how much time is saved? Secret Service protectees, ladies and gentlemen, don't go through the magnetometers. Do you know that? The flight takes off at 5. You can get there at 4:55. Breeze right through. You know how much that adds up when you're bouncing around the country on a campaign? A lot of it's private flight, but not all of it is. They're trying to screw this guy over. The only thing that makes sense. Nikki Haley has zero chance of being president. RFK actually has a shot. It's a distant one, but it's there. And I told you, that is why. Don't believe the hype. Oh, RFK is going to hurt Trump. Bullshit. Why are they trying to get him out then? He's not going to hurt Trump. He's going to hurt Biden. That's why they're trying to hurt him.